Good morning everyone, welcome back to my channel. Sunday morning, now it's time to work on Champagne Garden. So what have I done while I've been waiting for the prompt? What have I done? I don't think you've seen any of this. I started doing some more wildflowers. Now, I mentioned yesterday that I'd found a necklace belonging to my mum that had these sorts of tones in them, lots of browns, there was crystals in it, some little wooden beads, a few little stones, not a lot of goodies in there, and that's what sort of sparked me to go and invest in some more stones because I knew that this would not go far. Having said that, if you only have a few, you can sort of stretch them out by adding some additional little bits and pieces. So I did a little bit of stonework along my path. Bring it up to the camera so you can see. Lots of little pebbles, some wooden beads, and then some of those little sequins that are in the shape of a flower. And then I put a little calico coloured seed bead in the top of them. That's a little wooden bead. There is a little crystal-y bead there. Some little orange toned beads just for a little pop. And then I created another wildflower. He's quite a random fellow. He's just stab stitched in the wool, a little bit of crocheted snippets to sort of give the impression that there's some big petals there. And then in the center, I created a flower out of seed beads, and I created a loop with them all sitting on the loop. I don't know if this is going to make sense. I was watching Sonja Steptoe. She's got a channel here on YouTube by the same name, and she's in Australia, and she does all sorts of random embroidery little tutorials. And I think it was last week she was doing flowers with beads, and I was watching it thinking, well, that would work in as something I could have a try. And what she did is she brought her needle up and her thread, and she threaded on, I think, 9 little seed beads, and then went back down underneath her center bead to create a loop. Let me see if I can get it right up to the camera. And she didn't attach those little loops of beads at all. And see how they're like flicking around in the wind there? It was really, really simple, and it's created quite a dimensional little daisy-like flower. So I used that as my sort of feature in with the crocheted snippets as the background. These here are sequins that I purchased ages ago. I did an Etsy review on a sequin, what are they called? Website. That I don't think they were on Etsy. I think I just found them. I think actually Sarah put me onto them. She mentioned them in a video. So what I'll do is I'll link them below. So I'm just going to make a little note to add the sequin Etsy, the sequin product review. They're in Australia, but I believe they ship everywhere, and their range of sequins is unbelievable. Unbelievable. And you can get these random little shapes. This sort of feels like a very soft plastic. Could even be like a rubbery compound that's been glittered with a hole in the center that you can use to stitch it into position. They also got, those little daisy sequins that are there just at my thumbnail there. There's like a little sequin that's cut out in the shape of a daisy. Can't really see them real good. But it's definitely worth a watch. Have a look at the little video. I'll link it below. I'm just writing the product review of sequins down. So, yeah, and I'll also link the video where Sonja makes this little flower. I'll definitely make some more of them because it was so simple. And I might even be able to show you guys maybe in the second video as we finish off this piece, but I'll link it below if you want to have a little look in the meantime. It'll just give you a new way of adding flowers to your piece. Sonja's bead flower. Okay, they'll be in the description. Okay, I think that's about all I did. Added another little piece of this. Remember that came from this big motif, so I'm just nibbling out little bits and pieces, leaving the tulle attached so it creates a little bit of texture, and just some straight stitches with some seed beads on top to create little flower-like, I don't know. It's so hard when they're not actual flower names to describe what they are. Like if I said it was a pansy, you'd believe it was a pansy. But that is a reed with a bead on the top. And then, of course, my big flower coming up the top here. So I'm happy with the way that's sort of progressing there. So garden gate. I had mentioned yesterday that I had a photo that I was trying to consider using, and it was like a half broken down gate, but it's not really a gate. The more I looked at it, well, it is, I guess. It's this photo here. And I thought, oh, that'd be great, and I could put a heap of French knots in behind it, and my path wanders by, but I can't quite work out how to get it. I sort of had envisioned it in here, so that first post there, I actually just sketched onto this little scrap of calico. So I've been placing this post around to see if I can sort of get it in to the image that's currently here, but I don't have enough room for the rails to really sell the idea that it is this particular style of fence. The path is going the wrong way. I can make the path go the other way, but then it's just not right. It's just not coming together, and that's my only piece of path. So I've sort of got to make this appear throughout the rest of this piece. So I sort of gave up on this zone. Then I thought, well, do I just do a fence? But then I've got this flower in the way, so the whole area just didn't quite work. So then I thought, okay, I need to come down further, and I thought, I've got this spot here, and I did have a piece of lace here. I had slow stitched on, well, just invisible stitched. It was a rectangular piece of lace. I don't know where it is now, but I've unpicked it. I've taken it away, so I've got a blank canvas because it was just interfering. Because I went back to Etsy and I found this image. Now, someone has scanned a vintage embroidery transfer. Remember when we used to get these, where's Etsy? Goodness me. I got so many ideas. You don't even want to ask me what time it is. It is dark outside. I should be in bed. I should be asleep, but I'm building gates in my head. So I woke up thinking, bloomin' gates. Then I started watching 3 or 4 of you YouTube folks that I hang with, and that was it. I was up. So yeah, don't even ask what time it is. I'm going to do this video, get this gate out of my head, and then I might go have a nap. So what was I saying? I've created a space. I've unpicked the square here. I found this. Now, what they are is I've actually got one in my box of tricks for the French garden, and I showed it to you at the beginning of the project. What they are iron-on transfers. So back in the day, if we wanted to do embroidery, this is me as a little girl, we would get these iron-on transfers, and we would apply the iron to them, and this ink would appear on our piece of linen or cotton, and we could embroider them, right? So I remembered adding this little guy, and I actually found the photo. This little daisy, my mum ironed onto the bottom of my little jeans. Well, they weren't jeans, they were like little cotton long pants. So right around the ankle, I had these little daisies. So I was flicking through Etsy, and I found this site, this Pinky Boo, that had scanned these vintage iron-on transfers. And this here caught my eye. I so wish I had it and I could just iron it on. and then it'd be done. But no, we don't have it, do we? So we're going to attempt to recreate somehow a gate that is a little arbor as you walk in. So hence I took the lace off. I've printed out the image in black and white. It would have been perfect if I had have had that in real life. I could have, let me just cut it out. I could have just ironed it on. I went through all of my old vintage transfers and I just did not have a little gate anywhere. Nothing. Lots of roses and things like that. So unfortunately, we have to, I'm going to cut the little wishing well out too and just pop it in the box because it sort of feels like it could work somewhere if the girls give us a prompt for a wishing well. So I'm just going to hang on to that. So that's the site. It sort of looked like it's a, it's where they scan in images that you can use to make artwork. It's that type of site. So it's all free images. And this section was called Farm. So they'd scanned in this old piece of embroidery transfer. So I feel like I got a plan. This was not what I was thinking about in my sleep, just letting you know. So I've gone on another tangent. So the plan is to get this little arbor and this fence. As for the flowers, I pretty much can go on my own little tangent there because I've got a style happening on this piece. So it'll be a continuation of that sort of thing. But what I'm looking for is this rickety roof little arbor. And it should be reasonably easy to reproduce. Gosh, I wish I had that and I could just iron it. I think I've said that 20 times already. So I'm going to just attempt, and I like how it's a bit rickety. I'm using my brown friction pen. I know everyone's very skittish on these pens now, and I think I sort of started all that. Well, actually, a lady commented to me that she had created a beautiful piece of embroidery and it had come back on her, just giving me the heads up to be a little bit careful. So just, they're fine to use, but just be very light with your touch. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the start of the roof line anyway, give or take a bit. We'll come over here so we can get our roof in. It's got little shingles, so it can be a bit messy. So yeah, your friction pens, just be mindful that if you're going to do really heavy lines, you're going to find that it probably will come back, especially the colder climates. Something else about the pens which I find really, really cool is I've started using them in my diary to write, and if I make an error or I need to adjust a date or something, I just use that end and it takes it straight off paper. So I think that's very cool. Let me just show you. Look at this. How good is that? It's gone. So yeah, there's something else these little pens are good for. So I'm just working my way along my little hut. Just rough sketching in. And I'll just embroider this. I don't think there'll be anything fancy like actual little shingles or anything like that. So I want to keep it quite fine. And then I'll really bulk up around the base of it in the next video with flowers and things, I think. So there is a post here, but they've filled it full of flowers. That vine is going up. So then we sort of hit the gate. It's a great little fence. This is quite a simple little one to do. A fence, gate. It's a gatehouse. And I think at the bottom here it'll be quite good because it's sort of heading up the path to everything above. There we go. Now they've done some pathers, which I don't mind. The hint of some stones leading in. Could probably work a bit of that in. But I think I'll save it. I don't think it's going to be the right angles. So there's just a few strokes of an embroidery stitch or two there, and then I can do something with flowers here right along there. I can sort of get some little lazy daisy things happening here. That'll be quite simple. I found another doily that's got a gorgeous lace around it too, so I might even bring that in down here just to I used to love iron-on transfers as a kid. I had heaps of them. I was ironing them on all sorts of things. If I got a little white blouse, I'd iron them onto the collars and do some embroidery. I was forever stitching onto my clothing, adding little details. Okay, just a few high little things. So they've done a little rose up there. Some little petals sort of coming across the roof, some little leaves. Wonder if I could find a little bead or something. Do some dots here and there, and that will denote that I need to just avoid the roof there a little bit. Some buttons or something maybe I could find to make it a bit dimensional. So we're not going to see much of the post here. It's all going to be this vine, I'm thinking. That's pretty good. Gosh, I'm pretty pleased with that actually. I'll put some more of these stalky plants here. If only I had known what I know now, I would have kept all of those transfers. Having said that, friction pens and just have a little sketch. They are rather cute. I like the digital kits out there that we use in journal making where the artist has scanned them. So you get to see like embroidery sketches. Yeah, I like how they've done that. They've really made it look like there's distance there. Yeah, I like that. I'll show you this doily I've got. Not doily, it's a placemat. This one here. Look at that lace. So I'm thinking of, see if I can get some of this out. This was like $2.50 at a cheap shop. And I just saw that lace and I thought, wow, the treasure that is in that lace by just snipping out little bits. And I like how it's this cream and this goldy champagne-y colour, and I thought that is perfect for my stitchery. It even gives you a little fluted edge there, this lace here. Great for little garden edges. So we're just going to snip. I go around this little guy. And if it looks okay, we might use this to build up some flowers at the bottom of my little gatehouse there. So I think with the stitching of the gatehouse, I'll just use my DMC embroidery cotton and just stitch it down. The roof, I might find some wool to make it a little bit chunky. Some of the, yeah, beautiful. That's great. So I can come down onto this doily a little bit. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, and then I might be able to even use a few pebbles again over here. Yep. Just looking at the TV up on the wall just to see if that will look good. Yeah, I think that's the plan, guys. What about some of these? Should I bring in another? Seen these appear up the hill a bit. I know it's down the garden path, but I think this is going to be up the garden path. Just get rid of a little bit of that tulle. Yeah. Yep. Love it. Love it. And then I'll put stones over here. And maybe a little bit extra embroidery if that allows. I might just do some little lazy daisy stitches in a different colour just to sort of disguise the fact that the fence posts to the fence itself is all coming into that point, and some little pebbles through there. We'll sort of pick up on my pebbles that are up there, and I'm not using too many. There's a bit of a latch on the gate. Done. Yep. Really, really happy with that. So what I might do is I might just invisible stitch this down. Then what colour will I do my arbor? Do I make it blend or do I make it pop? I'm just glancing over to all my cottons. So I'll just get a couple little stitches into this. So then I can tuck any embroidery stitches sort of in under it. And then I can come back and properly stitch down these little flowers once I know where my boundaries of my embroidery are going to go. Okay, it's just to hold it along that edge. That's great. That's going to fit nicely. Plus sort of fits with the whole theme of this piece. It's quite chunky, abstract flowers. Sort of don't make a lot of sense, but oh, I'm so pleased I found that little arbor because I just could not quite work this one out. I've got a image for, or my idea for the French garden, and it's actually a pattern that is part of a block of a month, and I've just never finished the block of the month. I started it, I'll explain it all in the next video. I started it, did 2 blocks, and then it headed down the slow stitch collage path, which was completely different to what the pattern actually required me to do. So then I couldn't really use it as a quilt like it was meant to be. So it's turned into these pieces, and it went into the cupboard, and I was starting to feel all this guilt that I'd spent a fortune buying this block of the month. I had completed 2 blocks, and it was going to be useless for what it was actually meant to be because I'd gone off down a rabbit hole, making it into something completely different. But I've had an idea, which I'll tell you in the next video. So that idea involves that French garden, and in there is a arbor, and it's gorgeous. And I haven't stitched that block, so I'm thinking of pulling the block of the month apart and incorporating it into my French. So yeah, that's the plan. Okay, that's enough, I think, just to hold all those little morsels down. I must tell you what I did to my hand. A few of you will know because you actually commented on a video of mine at the moment of the incident. And I was in so much pain, and then I was lying there on the bed thinking my embroidery career was over. Well, not over, but over. And then up popped these comments from these lovely ladies. So I just poured my heart out to them as to say, I'm in pain. You won't believe what I've just done. So if you're watching, girls, thank you. I think there's about 4 of you that I used as my counsel. So what happened? Now, before I get on to the story, because I need to find something I can stitch that is a bit mindless, do we make it a real dark chocolate? Do we make it a lighter chocolate? I'm thinking a lighter chocolate. Where are these stones? Yeah, I think I'll go the lighter. I might end up doing a combination of the 2, but let's start on the posts, and then I'll tell you my story. How are we going? We got 28 minutes in, so we've got half an hour to do a bit of stitching. So what happened is, as I mentioned yesterday, I went to visit some family earlier in the week. I was up there from Monday through to Wednesday. I was doing a bit of house sitting, catching up with people, you know, went for a drive. And I was going to start here, work down, then I can jump over and come back up. So it's always tricky when you're not in your usual environment. So things can happen. Things will go wrong for sure. If they're going to go wrong, they'll go wrong. So the day pretty much started pretty normally. As the day wore on, I was expecting my dad and brother to drive across to meet me the next day. As you know, my mum passed away early last year. So Dad and my brother are bachelor boys, and we're looking at selling up the family farm and my brother's little house, and they will buy closer to me in the future. No rush, but it's all, you know, a work in progress. So anyway, the plan was to come across and have a look at this property. Now, Dad being a farmer, he doesn't really care what the house does. Me, the daughter, does, mind you. But Dad was just worried about the soil in this area. So I said to him, look, there's a property that's come on the market. It's a couple acres. It's a lot smaller than what you've got. So you would still have a little bit of room if you wanted to keep planting vegetables and growing them for the locals and market and things like that, because he's a small crop farmer. Anyway, the plan was he'd come across, meet me there the following day, and my brother, and we'd have a look at this property with the agent, and he could get his hands on the soil, have a look at it. I could check out the house and see, you know, there was a little dam on the property, so it looked like it could sustain a couple acres of vegetables. So anyway, it's probably about 6 o'clock in the evening, and I was expecting either he'd call me to confirm or I'd give him a tingle and say, right, you boys, are you ready for tomorrow morning? Anyway, the phone rings and it's Dad. And I thought, oh, great, he's rung me, he's beaten me to it. So I answer the phone and I said, how you going? He goes, oh, up the creek. Up the creek. I said, what's wrong? And he said, the car won't start. I'm like, oh, okay. He said, can you ring that mob that come out? And I said, oh, RACQ? Yeah, them. And I said, what do you think's wrong? He says, I don't know. It was working an hour ago and now it's just not starting. It's outside the garage because I went for a drive down the farm with a mate and I've parked it up thinking, oh, well, I'm going in the morning. I will just leave it there at the side of the house on the grass and now it won't start. So anyway, ring that mob. So I'm walking through my cousin's house, trying to get reception, and the phone kept dropping in and out. So I'd be chatting to Dad, trying to work out what was wrong. He was quite distressed, and the phone would drop out. So I'd dial him back. So I'd move a little bit further into the garage and then back into the house, and I was getting quite wound up and frustrated that the phone kept dropping in and out. So I'd have Dad for a minute and then it was gone. Dad for a minute and it was gone. So anyway, I said, well, you're still coming tomorrow? And he says, well, if I can get it started, yes, but I'm stranded. So I'm getting quite worked up. He was very worked up and the phone kept dropping in and out. It did it about 4 times. So I'm pacing through this house trying to get reception to try and work out what was going on and get a plan of attack. And I said to him, well, I haven't rung RSCQ for years. They'll probably need some information. Next minute the phone drops out. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I was getting really agitated by now. So I go walking through the lounge kitchen zone into the guest bedroom that sort of is behind the kitchen. I go walking through there and by then I'm stomping my feet, frustrated with everything that's going on. And next minute, bang, I was swinging my arm and my hand has collected. You can see that dot? And you can just make out the orange tone there. It didn't go purple, but it's yellowy orange. That dot is the impact point of the kitchen counter edge. And we're talking a stone countertop. Oh my goodness. You should have seen me, guys. So I got Dad on the phone. Next minute, crack, as my hands come swinging through and bang. Everyone in the house heard the crack. So my cousin's there, her mum's there, and she's got 3 kids. And everyone's just gone running to me. I've got Dad in my ear. And I said, Dad, I think I've broken my hand. And I tell you, my embroidery career flashed past my eyes. And Dad didn't really understand what had happened. He was just all wound up on his car. So I said the sentence, I think I've broken my hand. And he was like, can you call the car people? I'm like, yes, Dad. So I hung up on Dad and I sat down on the bed. And I felt like my hand was pulsating. The pain. So everyone's come running in and I've got my cousin's mum I call her Nana. Nana's there at the end of the bed. She's holding my hand. I've got tears running down my cheeks because of the pain. No, it wasn't because of the pain. It was because I thought I couldn't do needlework for the next bloomin'. Well, I even said to Nan, how long will it be in a cast? I need to do stitching. Anyway, she's like, well, if it's broken, it could be a little while. So I thought I better get this car sorted out. Dad will be standing there going, oh, where's the RACQ man? So they're holding my hand with an ice pack on it. I then dial RACQ and I got this sweetest lady and I said, look, I don't know much about the car. All I know is it won't start. Can you send someone? It's a little country town. There is a local guy in the next country town, so you should be able to find it. And they're like, what's his name? So I said his name. What's his address? I said his address. What's the rego? I didn't know the rego. And I said, I don't know the rego. So this lady's like, it's all right, darling, because she could hear I was distressed. She's thinking I'm distressed about the car. I'm distressed about my hand. And she says, it's okay, we'll send someone out. So, it was funny. And I said, I'm not worried about the car. I said, I've just smacked my hand on the kitchen counter and I think I've broken it. And she's like, oh, I can't help you with that. I said, doesn't matter, just get someone out to get my father's car started. So she's looked up the address and his name and she found his account because I didn't know the number. I don't have his RACQ number. And she said, look, I said, it's a Holden Captiva. She said, what colour is it? And so I said, oh, it's maroon. She goes, oh, I've got it. She said, that's enough information. I will get them on the way. They'll be there in 60 minutes. So Dad sorted, hung up. My hand is just pulsating. And I've got quite a crowd standing around me. And I'm thinking, oh. So they got ice on it. And my cousin, she's about my age, she says, look, I'll run you into the emergency, drop you off, you can get it x-rayed, because I could not move these two fingers. So I was convinced that I'd broken something in here. Anyway, I said, no, I'm just, I don't want to go to emergency. Not yet. I'm not convinced it's broken. It's just pulsating with pain. So anyway, I got up off the bed and I said, stop everyone fussing. Like, look, let's ignore it for a moment. It'll settle down. So I went and sat out at the kitchen counter and watched them sort of finish cooking dinner, and I slowly started to move my fingers. I'm thinking, oh, it feels all right. So hope was flooding back into me. And probably within an hour, I could feel it was pretty good. They were going, what do you want to do? And I'm like, no, I think it's all right. And then probably about an hour and a half later, after just letting it sit and rest, my cousin come up. She's such a mum. She goes, right, dinner's cooked. The kids are fed. What are we doing with you? I said, I think I'm fine. She goes, I don't believe you. Prove it. So I went up to her and I went, we're fine. So she's like, right, now stop complaining. It was so funny. It's all good. So yeah, in the process of sitting there with this pulsating hand, these comments popped in from people who just watched my video. So they were all saying, lovely things. And I was like, I think my career is over. Oh dear. So yeah, that was my wrist story. So for those of you that were involved on the other side of the world, the wrist is okay, guys. It's all good. We're going to be just fine. But boy, when you kick your toe on the end of a bed and you get that pain that just shatters through your body. Yeah, it was like that, but I think worse. Anyway, I'm not going to complain. I walked it off, as you usually say to kids, walk it off. I like this little stitchery because it's really quite wonky. So it's allowing me to be, you know, a little bit less concentrating. You know what I mean? I'm not chasing a precise shape. It's a bit rickety and I love it. I'm just stitching away here. The stitches can go anywhere. And it's coming together quite quickly. So I'll keep stitching. What are we at? 40 minutes. I'll keep stitching, or do I? No, I'll keep stitching. I sort of need to get that down first, don't I, before I start going off on other tangents of flowers and things. So, a bit boring. So if you wanted to tune out now and go and vacuum the house, go and do the dishes, go and put a load of washing on, you're very welcome to. Or stay here and watch me stitch this little gate. Riveting TV. Wonder what the next prompts are going to be. It's all very exciting. I might bring in a little bit of that soft olive green. This guy that's in that little flower. I might, actually, that's what we'll do, is we'll do one of those little flowers. How are we going for time? 15 minutes. I might start it and then you'll know what the hang I'm talking about, because that would look really sweet in there. Yep, all right, put down the brown needle, that's boring. We're moving on. Let's find some little beads and we'll do one in there. Maybe some little gold ones. Okay, this is how Sonja did this little flower. Now she stitched down the center bead or button first, because you sort of want your little petal, your cotton to be behind it, under it. Let's have a look at one of these. Yep. Let's get our little flower. So I'm going to use this little pearl stone-like piece, and I'm just going to stitch it in first. So that goes down there. That's the center of our little flower. Then I might pick up a bead to go in the center so that that'll hold it. So I'm going to use that as the way to hold the little bead in with another little bead. Okay. Oh, there you go. So all the ladies that jumped up and went and did the washing and turned off the camera are now missing out on me making this little flower. Let's be honest, none of you's jumped up. You're all still here. No one wants to do washing. So I'm just putting a second stitch in there. Might do another one. It's wriggling around a bit. I can hear rain. Gosh, the sun's not even up yet. Still. Okay, so we've got the little bead on top of the button. Well, it's a little pearly button. Is secure. So now we bring our needle up so that it's slightly under that button, the center, and we pick up, I'm sure she used 9. I think she might have even used 7, but let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so they're all threaded on like so. They're now going to become the petal. So I'm going to take my needle. Can you see that? That's where the thread's coming up, and there's the beads. I'm going to take my needle back down near where I came up, and that has to form the little loop. You can see that? How sweet is that? Then you go to the opposite side and you do it again. Now I'm just going to anchor that with a stitch first. I just like to know that that's secure. And you pick up another 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think that's 10, but that doesn't matter. Probably does matter, but anyway. So we've got them on the, and then we're just going to go down right next to it, and that forms the next loop. So now we've got 2 little loops there. So then you come to another side. I'm just going to do a couple little stitches just to anchor it, because you know it's only cotton. And here we go again. Gosh, can't pick them up. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think I got more than that. Anyway, got 10, I think. Doesn't matter. So now, once again, down back into cinching in a little ringlet, the petal. How easy is that? Thank you, Sonja. Amazing. We're learning all these new things. So here we go again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is a bead needle, if anyone wants to know. It is so fine, and the head of the needle where you thread through is pretty much the same diameter as the widest part of the shaft. So it makes it perfect for the itty bitty seed beads. There we go, another petal. Just a couple little stitches. They're really sharp too, so they're fantastic to work with until you get jabbed by them, mind you. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's it. I nearly did 10. I think the first petal one I did 7, and that's probably not quite enough. This is looking more open. 2, 4, 5. So I'll do, so you could probably even do another layer of them around the button again with even more beads to make it a double petaled piece. That'd be pretty. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, come on. 8, 9. And there's a bead on there that's got a weird shape. Goodness me, just when we were cruising. Yeah. This little guy, he's a bit of an odd bod. You'll see what I mean when I bring it up to the camera. Look at him. He's got like a lump off the side of him of like a random little pieces stuck to him. Let's see if I can pick these back up. Yep, got them. Another one there. And I need to get an extra one. All right. And then we go back down. And there's our little flower. How sweet is that? So now I'm just going to knot it off. So there's our little petals. Bring it up to the camera. Look at that. How clever is that? So you could pop a little stitch in. Sonja didn't, but I didn't on my first one, but I might on this one. I'm going to just go around the outer edge and pop a little stitch in a few of those petals just to hold them out. And there you go. Something new for us to play with. So it's a lot of fun doing those. And there he is. He's all stitched down. Finish that off. Love it. Alrighty. We have a plan. We have a little gate coming along. What have we got? We've got a few minutes. Let's just finish this until we finish, hey? Let's just get stitching again. Use all this thread up. And then in the next video, when I come back, we can do something with those little floral pieces. I might get the gate. I'll get the gate done, and I'll work out what I'm doing on the roof. I'd like to use some gum nut yarn there, I think, and have a play with those shingles. But the posts and the gate itself can just be this brown cotton. Put some little stones in. So anyway, I'll have a little stitch, and when I come back, I'll sort of show you the next stage. which will be the following Sunday. Gives me that week to get ready. This is coming together quite quickly, which is good because the French garden is going to be a lot of embroidery. And I was wondering how long it would take me to do a little stitched element like this, but in a bigger size. You'll know what I mean when you watch the video. I'll do that one next. So for you guys, that'll be Monday. In Australia, it'll be Monday. How easy is that coming together? Okay, knot that off. Then I'll probably have a play with the gum nut yarns and just do some rough stitching, I think. Just make it quite, you know, messy, yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Scattered stitches. Let's do another little paling. Might as well fill our hour, hey? I'm not going anywhere. And then I can get a photo at the end of the video of where we're finished, which is just the little gate and the one pole. And then I'm thinking I'd probably need to do the flower actually next, so that I don't have stitches in the way for the roof tiles. So I'm thinking that that's the next section I need to do. And then I come back and fill in the little tiles. So yeah, so we got a little catch here on the little latch on the gate. I bet I don't have my perspective right on this gate. Probably be a little bit out, but doesn't matter. I'm so glad that they scanned that little transfer, because they're just lost forever once they're gone. They're gone. Little old pieces of paper. So it's so great that people are grabbing them and scanning them. There we go. So now I can start coming across the bottom to catch that bottom rail. I'm happy with the colour. So that crochet cotton is colour 801 and it's a number 8. We're coming up to the hour. Just do one more stitch there and that'll be enough to fill in that with some flowers and things. So there you go, guys. I will sit here for another few minutes and finish the bottom rail on that little fellow. And then I'll just take a photo of that. That's a pretty good effort. Then the next video, we will work on the floral elements left. I'll find a green cotton and then the shingles on the roof. And some pebbles, so plenty to do. And I'm still stitching and I haven't turned the camera off. I better go, otherwise this will take a month of Sundays to actually get up, thanks to Telstra and their slow internet speeds. I just can't put the needle down and stop the video. Just finish this bit. Won't matter if we go a few minutes over. And thank you everyone for listening to me ramble on about my broken wrist potential incident. There we go. Just finish that off. All right, everyone, I will say goodbye this time once I do this knot. Done. One little gate hinging on a pole. There we go. We're getting there. Coming together. All right, everyone. See you in the next video. Bye for now.